Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, and thank you very much for joining me on this one. If you don't already know yet, I wrote a community post about it a few days ago, but I want to apologize for the lack of content recently. I'm in the midst of writing my master's thesis as of the date of recording this, 27 May 2023, and that should probably take the next 4 or 5 weeks or so, where I'm really going to be heavily focused on writing that, because once that's over, boom, there's my degree, fix fertig, finished. And so that's pretty exciting in and of itself. But until that point, I'll probably try and do maybe one a week. Maybe. It's been 2 weeks since I did the last one, but thank you very much for staying along, and thanks for tuning into this one, because I will never miss a new Epic History TV Napoleon video. I love these videos. Anyone who's ever watched any of the previous videos beforehand knows that I'm going along and going through every single one of Epic History TV's Napoleon videos. I love all of them. What can I say? And now we're on part 4 of Napoleon's first campaign. It's been a while since I saw the last one, but they always do the recaps here at the beginning. So let's get into this one. I'm excited for it. Become a patron for Epic History TV. They're the best. If you haven't already yet, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you again for all your support for everything. Let's get into it.
Epic History TV, PMF Productions collaboration. In 1796, at the height of the French Revolutionary Wars, a young French general took charge of a ragged, demoralized army in northern Italy. It was his first command. Many expected him to fail. Instead, in just 1 month, he won his first brilliant campaign. With astonishing self-confidence, boldness and energy, he led his army to victory after victory, transforming the war in Europe, winning praise from a grateful republic, and forging a legend. This is the story of Napoleon Bonaparte's first campaign, and the dawn of a new age.
Perfect. I think it's the same intro every time, but love that intro.
October 1796. 6 months have passed since General Napoleon Bonaparte took command of the French army of Italy. In that time, he's led a series of brilliant operations against the Austrians and won a string of battles. Now he appears close to final victory. He's driven Austrian field forces off the plains of northern Italy, back towards the Alps, while his troops have the great fortress city of Mantua, the key to Italy, under close siege. Mantua's oversized Austrian garrison is nearing starvation and riddled with disease. Napoleon appeals to its commander, Field Marshal von Wurmser, to surrender. The brave should be facing danger, not swamp plague, he jibes. But Wurmser is a tough old veteran. He will not yield while any glimmer of hope remains. And he knows that to the north, Austria is gathering fresh troops to march to his aid. True, many are Grentz battalions, a type of Habsburg frontier militia, poorly drilled and short of officers. But they help raise the strength of the Austrian field army to 44,000.
I could be completely wrong, but Grenze in German is border. So does that mean because they're more Italian than Austrian that the Grenze troops, like right near the border between Italy and Austria? I'm not actually sure exactly what Grenz means. Or maybe it's just a random name, who knows.
And they have a new general to lead them. Feldzeugmeister, or Lieutenant General, József Alvinci.
Wie schön.
The 61-year-old Hungarian was once military tutor to Emperor Francis himself, and is regarded as diligent, sharp, and brave. He and his staff draw up plans for a fresh offensive to rescue Wurmser and Mantua. Alvinci and Kostanovic will lead the main column, 26,000 strong, from Friuli to Bassano, then onwards to Mantua. Davidovich's corps, reinforced to 18,000, will retake Trento and push south through the Adige Valley. The two forces will link up at the earliest opportunity.
Now, if I remember correctly, Davidovich's men were actually pushed back by a much smaller force by Napoleon, right? And so they've regrouped here in the Alps, and they're going to push forward through this again. Okay, I'm going to make a prediction here and say they're not going to make it. They're not even going to get close to making it the year. Might be completely wrong. We'll find out in a few minutes here, but that's my prediction just off the top of my head.
Meanwhile, Wurmser, who can muster just 12,000 fit men from the Mantua garrison, will launch powerful sorties to pin down as many French units as possible. Napoleon, by contrast, has received very few reinforcements from France. His weary divisions are suffering from shortages and sickness.
In fact, if I remember correctly, he was actually denied reinforcements. He pleaded with the government in France to get more reinforcements to this campaign. But at this point, it's not the center focus, right, of the politicians. It's those that are, fighting the Austrians in modern day Germany, right? Those are the main two fronts, with the more experienced general. I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head, but he's really seen as the more experienced one. And this is just sort of the forgotten campaign by this new guy, Bonaparte, right? And so it's kind of cool looking at it with hindsight, right? This happening obviously almost more than 200 years ago. Actually, no, more than 200 years ago. It's just sort of cool to see that, denying Napoleon, right? Whereas I think, you would want obviously more troops on this front here.
And will be outnumbered on every front. Alvinzi begins his advance on the 22nd of October. The following day, the heavens open, drenching troops, swelling rivers, and reducing roads to mud. For the time being, Napoleon is content to observe the enemy struggle forward in such conditions, knowing the effort will exhaust his infantry and disrupt supplies.
Nice.
On the 2nd of November, fighting breaks out north of Trento, where Napoleon has ordered Vaubois to attack.
Is he going to break through Trento now?
He wants to keep Davidovich bottled up.
Yeah.
But Vaubois is heavily outnumbered, and his attack fails. Vaubois begins pulling back to Caliano, while Massena gives up Bassano and withdraws towards Vicenza.
Okay.
But now Alvinzi's advance becomes strung out, slowed by the heavy rain and poor fitness of his recruits. And it is against Napoleon's nature to remain passive for so long. As the Austrians cross the Brenta, he orders Massena to attack General Liptay's division at Fontaniva, while Augereau attacks Hohenzollern at Bassano. The French launched dozens of separate assaults. But for all their poor march discipline, the Austrian recruits stand their ground and fight hard. With around 3,000 casualties on each side, the Second Battle of Bassano is the bloodiest day's fighting so far in the Italian campaign. And a failure for Napoleon.
Interesting.
Hours later, he receives dire news from Vaubois. During heavy fighting at Caliano, some Croatian troops get behind the French line, triggering panic and a rout.
Okay, well, I was wrong. I was very wrong.
Vaubois loses nearly half his division, killed, wounded, or missing, before he can regroup at Rivoli.
Yikes.
The French are falling back on all fronts.
Okay.
And unless Napoleon can conjure something remarkable, he seems destined to suffer a major strategic defeat. This video is sponsored by G2A, the online marketplace for all your digital products.
Hey, it's a great marketplace. I've used it before. I would love to be sponsored by G2A. No, I wouldn't. That's fine. Yeah, go use G2A. Also, G2G too is also a good one. Or Good Old Games, sorry, GOG, not G2G. That's got to go. Yeah, Good Old Games is also a good one too. You abandon yourself. Interesting. Let it be inscribed on their colors. Big diss.
Napoleon's position is perilous, but his enemy's cautious pursuit affords him some respite. 4 whole days pass while Alvinci and Davidovich coordinate their next moves. It's not a delay Napoleon would have tolerated if the shoe had been on the other foot. When the Austrians finally advance, it's bungled. Hohenzollern's vanguard approaches Verona to investigate reports of a French retreat. This isolated division is too tempting for Napoleon to ignore.
Wait, they sent a whole division to investigate whether the French were retreating? Doesn't that seem a little strange to you? Okay. Because wouldn't you typically send scouts or messengers or a whole division? Okay.
He orders Augereau and Massena to attack. They inflict 400 casualties, but Hohenzollern escapes to a ridge near Caldiero. The next day, Napoleon orders renewed attacks. But conditions are atrocious. The French struggle uphill into driving rain and hail, their boots slipping in the mud, under fire from Austrians dug in on the ridgetop.
God, that's miserable.
Around noon, Colonel Dupuy's 32nd Demi Brigade finally gets onto the ridge. It looks like the French may be able to lever the Austrians out of their position. But then, the Austrian army begins to arrive in force to support Hohenzollern's hard-pressed division. The French are in danger of being outflanked on both wings.
Yep.
They take up new defensive positions and hold the line until darkness, when Napoleon cuts his losses and orders a retreat to Verona.
Okay.
It has been an unequivocal French defeat. Napoleon's first in battle.
Interesting.
The following day, he writes furiously to the Directory in Paris. He has no doubt that they are to blame for his defeat, for repeatedly failing to send reinforcements.
Yep.
We may be on the verge of losing Italy. None of the expected help has arrived. The army of Italy, reduced to a handful of men, is worn out. The heroes of Lodi, Millesimo, Castiglione and Bassano have died for their country or are in the hospitals. The men have nothing left but their reputation and their pride. We are abandoned in the depths of Italy.
Oof. Scorning.
But despite his apparent despair, Napoleon has already devised a plan to strike back.
Of course.
A breathtakingly bold move that will spawn one of the greatest of Napoleonic legends.
Nice. All right, let's do it. Fortune smiles upon us. Mantua will be taken, and with it, Italy. Phew. And fortune certainly smiles upon Napoleon. I just finished up the Russia video. That's the most recent one of him, of his retreat through Russia in the main series. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. I'll leave a thing in the top right. And the amount of just sheer luck, right, that he escapes through Russia, right? Those pontoon bridges in that one epic scene. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it yet, but man, the amount of fortune that Napoleon had to him, right? I'd rather, I think maybe it was Napoleon or something along these lines, one of these pop culture quotes type thing, that I'd rather be lucky than good, or something along these lines.
With the Austrians converging on Verona, Napoleon decides to risk everything on a daring surprise attack. Leaving Macquart to cover Verona, he will circle south with the rest of the army, cross the Adige River, and swing north, threatening to cut Alvinci's lines of communication and capture his artillery, baggage, and supplies.
No. Are
Such
you
losses
serious?
will force Alvinci to abandon his advance.
You gotta be kidding me. He's trying to hoi 4 and circle him right now.
Marching overnight, Augereau and Massena arrive undetected at Ronco. Augereau's men cross the Adige on a pontoon bridge and begin moving north. But with marshland on all sides, they have to stick to the narrow, raised causeway, just 20 yards wide. And when they reach Arcole, where they must cross the bridge to continue north, they find it held by 2 Croatian battalions. Horribly exposed on the causeway, and under heavy fire, the French troops take cover behind its reverse slope. Reinforcements are sent up, but they too are pinned down by the weight of fire from the far bank. Colonel Lannes had discharged himself from hospital that morning in order not to miss the battle. He now attempts to lead a charge, but is hit in the leg. The fiery Augereau refuses to accept defeat and orders another attack. But his men are exhausted and demoralized, with 3 generals wounded. The attack at Arcole has stalled. When Alvinci hears gunfire from the south, he assumes the French are making a feint to divert him from his own planned attack on Verona.
Nice.
But then comes alarming news that the French have crossed the Adige in force and are behind his left flank.
Wow.
He sends 2 brigades to attack the French bridgehead and diverts Mitrovsky to reinforce Arcole. Massena's division, moving northwest to protect the flank of the advance, runs straight into the Austrians at Bionde. At first, the Austrians have the better of it. But a disastrous friendly fire incident triggers panic.
Oh no.
And Massena drives the Austrians back.
What? No. They went around into the marshlands and then shot on their own divisions. Oh, those poor buggers. Oh, I feel so bad for them. Also, can we take a moment to notice like how good the backgrounds have become for Epic History TV's videos here? I have no idea how he makes these, but if this is accurate to the geography at the time, that's really impressive.
Up the causeway.
Oh man.
The
Austrians try they try and encircle him, shoot their own guys, and then retreat.
Napoleon is increasingly concerned by the hold-up at Arcole.
Ouch.
If they cannot break through, Alvinci will have ample time to redeploy and prevent any advance. He now orders General Gueux to take 2 regiments, cross the Adige at Albaredo, and lead them up the eastern bank of the Alpone River to hit Arcole from the south.
That's awesome.
He himself rides to the bridge to try to get the attack moving.
That's awesome.
He finds hundreds of French troops sheltering behind the causeway, unwilling to face the Austrian fire. General Augereau grabs a standard and begins to advance. This highly romanticized depiction was painted 2 years later. "Grenadiers," he cries, "come and seek your color." In reality, none had the courage to follow him. Then, the commander of the Army of Italy himself draws his saber, picks up a standard, and runs forward. There is withering fire all around.
What?
Several men fall wounded. His aide-de-camp, Colonel Murat, is killed. Another aide-de-camp, a Polish officer named Sulkowski, recalls, "The soldiers saw him, and none of them imitated him. I was witness to this extraordinary cowardice, and I cannot conceive it."
Wow. That's...
With the French infantry refusing to follow their officers, the assault on the bridge ends in abject failure. A well-timed Austrian counterattack drives them back down the causeway. In the rout, Napoleon's horse loses its footing. he tumbles into the swamp and has to be hauled out by his aides. That evening, General Gieux launches his attack on Arcole from the south. The defences are less formidable on this side, and his men fight their way into the village. Arcole, at last, has fallen. But that night, Gieux's men are ordered to pull back.
Yep.
Napoleon is preparing to retreat. If, as he expects, Davidovich has continued his advance down the Adige Valley, Napoleon must withdraw now or face encirclement.
Yep.
His bold maneuver appears to have failed.
I mean, if it had have succeeded, that would have been awesome, right? But still, that is shockingly bold, even for
then,
Napoleon.
At 4 a.m., Napoleon receives a report from Rivoli
They didn't make it
that
past
changes everything. Not only does Vaubois still hold the town, he hasn't even been attacked yet.
Nice.
Napoleon's line of retreat remains secure for at least a few days more. It's all the reassurance he needs. He immediately cancels his retreat and issues orders to attack.
Mad lad.
Napoleon has lost the element of surprise, and Alvinci is now planning his own counterattack. Overnight, his troops edge forward. Provera to Belfiore di Porcile, Mitrovsky back into Arcole. Both armies are on the move before dawn. Massena sends skirmishers into the marshland. When the Austrians arrive, bunched up on the causeway, they make easy targets. After a sharp fight in which an Austrian general is killed, Massena's men are driving the enemy before them. Augereau, however, cannot get close to Arcole. The causeway is still swept by Austrian musket fire and canister from across the Alpone.
I mean, look at that. Like, can you even imagine this, right? Like, just the sheer amount of men that are on both sides of this trying to kill each other. And the thing is, there's one bridge, right? In modern warfare, obviously, it doesn't even closely resemble that. Like, just trying to picture this, man.
Napoleon orders troops to cross downstream at Albaredo. But the Austrians now have 2 battalions guarding the crossing point. French attempts to float or swim across the river come to naught.
Yeah.
Day 2 of the battle ends in stalemate. Many soldiers have to camp amid the marshes and get what food and rest they can. Napoleon will try once more to break through, but he is running out of time.
Okay, how is he going to pull this off? Really?
Davidovich, who by now...
Because, I mean, Mantua is still being held up here. I think I said in the beginning, they wouldn't pass here, which I'm half right, right? So if they're not going to be able to pass through the north here, how is he going to break this? Like, is it just going to be brute force? Is there going to be some sort of blunder? Like, is he going to spring a trap? Are the Austrians going to get too overzealous and try and push him out of this? How is he going to break through here? Like, with some of the other videos and stuff, you're kind of able to see how or what maneuvers could be done to try and break through here. But with this one, I really don't know, actually.
Now has received several urgent requests from Alvinci to advance, finally attacks on the 17th of November. Vaubois' outgunned division breaks. The Austrians take Rivoli and 1,000
there's my
prisoners
prediction gone.
and nearly capture Vaubois himself. With Davidovich on the move at last, Napoleon must force a decision at Arcole or retreat. The bridge at Arcole has proved too tough to crack.
Yeah.
So Napoleon switches tactics.
Like, is it just going to be go, like, try and completely encircle then them here? Try and attack from the rear, from the side? What is the plan here?
Augereau's division will cross the Alpone and attack Arcole from the south in force.
Okay.
A column is sent 10 miles south to cross at Legnago and then race back up the eastern bank to support him.
What?
Massena will advance up the causeway in support,
And try and hold
while
them
also
there.
protecting the left flank. That night, the French assemble a pontoon bridge over the Alpone. Augereau's division begins crossing before dawn. But at sunrise, Austrian gunners in Albaredo spot the bridge and score a hit, knocking it out of action. Only the 51st Demi Brigade is across, though it gamely begins to advance on Arcole.
Because, like, what did you do?
Massena's advance is also hamstrung by a broken pontoon bridge. To add to the crisis, the Austrians launch an attack on the fragile French bridgehead. Napoleon gathers every available gun to blast the Austrians, who fall back under a withering barrage. The bridges are quickly repaired. But as the French advance, they encounter stubborn opposition on both sides of the Alpone.
Yeah. And I think this path is only 20 yards wide. 20 yards. That's it. Okay. So I mean, so if they're able to get a good position here, like, then it's shooting ducks. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, though, right?
A bloody seesaw battle surges back and forth along the causeways. Neither side can deploy its troops, nor gain an advantage. Around 3 p.m, the French column from Legnago arrives, threatening to turn the Austrian flank. Just as Arcole seems about to fall, the Austrians launch a ferocious counterattack across the bridge. Brigadier General Robert is killed. His troops fall back in disarray. The panic is contagious. Augereau's men lose their nerve and fall back to the bridge. The moment of crisis has arrived. But while the enemy has just used his last reserves, Napoleon can call on Massena's unengaged troops, including the elite 32nd Demi Brigade.
I see. And then
their sudden counterattack turns the tide.
Nice.
Massena's men sweep up the causeway, taking scores of prisoners, as Augereau's division resumes its advance. As they approach Arcole, Napoleon arranges a small ruse de guerre. 25 of his elite escort sweep in from the east, blowing bugles to feign a mass cavalry charge. In the evening light, it's enough to scare the remaining garrison into abandoning the village.
Wow. And he took it. He actually took... Wow, he actually took it from being completely outnumbered, outgunned, in this terrible condition with paths 20 yards wide. And just the Austrians overextended themselves, and then just like that, over here, cut through, push up, and then some classic distraction here. Wow, amazing, guys! Like, just amazing seeing this stuff.
Into abandoning the village.
Greatest general of all time.
As the
I haven't seen too much on Hannibal, so we'll get to those videos too by Epic History TV.
French continue their advance. Alvinci orders his exhausted, demoralized army to retreat east, to Montebello, to protect its lines of communication.
Wow, what a victory.
The 3-day Battle of Arcole has been a messy, bloody affair, with no great tactical flourishes. Napoleon's margin of victory is narrow, and a third of his army are casualties. But he has done enough. For now. Alvinci may be withdrawing, but Davidovich remains a threat. The next day, Napoleon sets off at his customary pace with Massena's division to reinforce Vaubois.
Customary being lightning breakneck speed, you know, just as a reminder.
Augereau takes a different route to threaten the Austrians' line of retreat.
Nice.
The confusion that follows between Alvinci and Davidovich verges on farce. Alvinci writes to his corps commander, informing him that he will support him by resuming his advance.
Okay.
But Davidovich, having heard of the defeat at Arcole and now directly menaced by Napoleon, is already retreating. On receiving Alvinci's letter, however, he tries to turn his army around, leading to such chaos that he has to immediately countermand that order and resume his retreat.
Oof, on the bus, off the bus, nice.
The end result is that both Austrian armies are soon withdrawing. And with exquisitely poor timing.
I wonder if they even fired a shot. Oh my God. Well, okay, 12th of November there, but that was before. Wow. What a blunder. There's no other way to say it. What a complete blunder. To turn your army around twice. Oh, that's pure luck.
Gallant old Wurmser chooses this moment to launch his supporting attack from Mantua.
Oh,
he does at least secure some much-needed supplies, at a cost of 800 casualties.
Oh no. Napoleon.
It has been a bruising campaign for Napoleon. By some estimates, he has lost more men than the Austrians. He has suffered his first defeat in battle and won a costly, messy victory at Arcole. But he has beaten the odds and thrown back the enemy. What's more, his heroic conduct at the bridge at Arcole will soon take on a life of its own. Artists and pamphleteers turn a slightly embellished version of events into a sensational piece of personal PR that captivates France.
Can you imagine if a stray bullet had have hit him and then that was it? Like, that's gotta be an altist video that's on YouTube already, right? What if Napoleon was killed at Arcole and how that would have went from there? If you know of a video that already exists of that, put it in the comment section down below. I'd love to watch that.
Napoleon's active encouragement. The world is witnessing the birth of the Napoleonic legend.
Yep.
A powerful force that will inspire loyalty and devotion for many years to come.
Cool. 1826. Long past them. Okay.
For now, both armies settle into winter quarters, as December brings bitter cold and heavy snow to northern Italy. In Mantua, the Austrian garrison is near its limit. Starvation beckons, though Wurmser is determined to hold out to the last. The Austrians will have one last chance to save the city. A final offensive to decide the outcome of the war in Italy.
Wow.
A big thank you to PMF Productions for their help creating this series and charting Napoleon's movements across northern Italy.
What a great video. And once again, defying the odds, yet at a heavy cost. Though, to be fair, I actually didn't know that about this campaign beforehand, about the casualty levels. But nonetheless, Napoleon does it again, and just, man, I love these videos. I love these videos so much. Thank you very much for joining me. If you haven't yet, become a patron of Epic History TV. They're absolutely fantastic. Join me. I'm there too. You'll find my name.
Actually, I highly recommend their YouTube.
Here. Oh, okay, it's only the higher tier level. I won't be in that one, but nonetheless. Thank you very much for joining me on this one. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for your support. If you haven't seen the other Napoleon videos, go check them out. Anything else, write a comment down below, and I'm going to continue on with this series as well. I'll try and post as much as I can until my thesis is over. Thank you very much, though, for your patience. Thank you for your support. Take care, Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys in the next one.